Hi, my fellow plant lovers. Do you ever struggle trying to figure out how to pot your plant, if you should do it in plastic or terracotta, self-watering, not self-watering? What soil do you use? Well, today I'm going to review Walmart's 4-inch Aqua Terra planter. I will test it in both chunky and non-chunky potting soil and see how the water really diffuses throughout it to see, is this truly a safe option for your plants? For this video, the two soils that I'm going to be testing out are Soul Soils Chunky Mix, because I do use this for a lot of my plants. On the mix, it recommends it for alocasia, anthurium, calathea, ficus, hoya, monstera, palm, pothos, zizi. But of course, choose based off of your best plant, plant information. And I will be comparing that to Fox Farms Ocean Forest Potting Mix. So this one is a less chunky mix, although it does have a decent amount of, I think it's perlite. Let's see, does it say? This mix has peat moss, perlite, sandy loam, fertilizer, and forest products. I'll be comparing the chunky mix and the aerated but less chunky mix in the potters to see if the size of the particles in the soil affect how the water diffuses through this terracotta self-watering planter, to make sure that the water diffuses thoroughly throughout it and that it doesn't just water one area or just the bottom. I'll have a third control, which is just water in the reservoir, to see if the water, makes the terracotta wet throughout. So now I'm gonna set up my area so that we can test this out. Okay, I've got my setup complete. So I've got my 2 pots, my scoop, and my soil right down here. So let's start by opening this up. So you have the actual terracotta pot and you have the container. What's annoying is they put this sticker in the terracotta pot. That won't work if you put a pot in there. But that came off really easily. No residue or anything. Okay, and let's try this one. See if this one has that same paper in it. Sticker, I should say. Yep, this one also has a sticker. Let's see if it's just as easy to get off. Yes. Okay, so we've got both stickers out. So you see that inside we have the terracotta. There is no hole or anything. That's very important that there's no drainage hole in this. And then we have, whoopsies, we have the plastic container that it comes in. It would be nicer if it's glass, but then the cost would go up. My workspace is all set up now, and I've removed the wrapping on the potters. So before I put any soil in them, I am going to have a third one, and I'm just gonna put water in it, and we will see how that diffuses throughout it. I will be right back. I took a quick break because I had a third pot that what I wanted to do was just fill it with water and see how the terracotta responds. So this third one here, it has water. It's actually already absorbed some. You can see the line. So the water's already not to the top. The terracotta itself is actually absorbing that water. So that's quite fascinating how quickly that did that. Yeah, so we'll just keep an eye on that throughout our video. For now, what I'll do is I will start with the Soul Soils soil. Again, this is a chunky mix. If you look into the bag, let's see if you can get, so as you can see, it is a bit of a chunky mix. It has coconut husks, pine bark compost, calcinated clay, pumice, perlite, and expanded clay, which would be leca. So let's just fill, ooh, that's a little bit dusty. Let's fill this. Now let's do the fox farm. As you can see, this is more normal. This is more similar to your regular potting mix. Now, Miracle Grow is readily available in the US. I don't know how it is worldwide. Miracle Grow, I honestly don't like. Every time I've used Miracle Grow, I've gotten fungus gnats. I don't think their soil drains as well, and a lot of places will keep the soil outside, which is how the fungus gnats get into it. So I wouldn't recommend doing this with Miracle Grow soil. All right, so I've got both soils in there, all to the top. I'm not gonna water either soil. I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea, but I'm not gonna water the soil in the potter. I'm just gonna put the water in the holder. Now that we've got our potting soil in our different potters, I'm gonna add some water and we'll see if the water diffuses throughout equally. I realized when I was watering them that if you just fill the water to here, it fills it all the way to the top. So the fun way of experimenting in this sense is that I can also see how quickly the terracotta absorbs the water without soil, with regular potting soil, and with a chunky potting soil to see if that affects the time of everything. The other thing is that I'll be able to truly see if there gets to be water inside the terracotta, if the soil feels moist, and if it does feel moist, is it throughout the soil or is it just certain parts? Because if you don't have a full root system or just some of your roots are getting wet, your plant may not be getting enough water. And also, if there's an area in the pot where the water tends to pool, it can lead to root rot. So it will be an interesting test, and hopefully it goes well and I can start transitioning some of my plants into this so I can recommend it for you guys when you have to travel for work or leisure or visit family. So let's see how it goes. I just added the water into these pots now, as you can see, and it looks like it's already being absorbed a bit. That didn't take any time at all. I was honestly just at the kitchen with sink, which is 3 meters away, 5-6 feet, not that far. Oh, this is interesting. Let me see if I can get this on camera. Do you see that water line? So where it's darker, that is where the actual terracotta has already gotten wet. Now, I don't think that will necessarily keep the plants moist. We'll see if any water trickles into this. And we'll also see if I actually need to refill it. Okay, so now we're 10 minutes in, and you can see that the water is actually wicked all the way to about 1/3 of the way down. I can see that there is some wetness. The terracotta looks wet pretty much up to the rim on both the regular soil and the chunky soil mix. And I see in the bottom of this that there, oh, shoot. And I see in the bottom of this that there is actually some little bits of water condensation at the bottom. I'm gonna see if I can feel any moisture on this, because I can see some beading in this, and I know that the full terracotta is moist, but I'm not sure. I'm just gonna test the chunky mix, because that way it won't get under my nails that much. Oh no. It does not feel moist yet. It's now 45 minutes later, and you can see what I mean by the condensation on the bottom. All right, we're officially an hour into this test. My planters with the soil used about half the water, which is actually really quick. And the one with just water, there's actually some, instead of just water beating, there's actually water that I'm moving around. We are now 2 hours, and you can see the water moving around. We're now 6 hours, and you can see there's an even larger amount of water in the bottom there. It almost coats the entire bottom. Probably could. So the water definitely is going in. It's down to about a quarter. So are the ones with the dirt. Overnight, the cash pots went from being full to a third of the way or a half of the way. And when you look at the plain terracotta, there is some water in there still, and it's more than before. So it's telling me that the pots are absorbing some of the water, because I don't think it could be evaporating since there's really no air hole in the system. So the real question truly is this fully diffusing through the soil, or is it just the bottom of the soil that's wet? And if it's the bottom of the soil, is it only the very bottom, or does it go up? Because you don't really need the top to be wet. Most of your roots will be further down. And so the big question is, are your roots getting the moisture that they need? And that's the real question, and that's what I want to assess. In the next episode, I'll be removing the soil, and we'll find out if the Aquaterra pots from Walmart had the soil being evenly moistened by the terracotta without any pooling of water in the bottom or certain areas of the soil being over wet. We will look at that in both the chunky and the regular potting mix. Now that our experiment has come to a conclusion, I bet you guys want to know the results of it. Unfortunately, you're going to have to stay tuned until the next episode. I know you're just as intrigued as I am. In the meantime, if you liked this episode, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Until next time, happy planting!